You don't notice the exact moment someone stops loving you, but you always remember the moment they stop respecting you. Mine came with a laugh and a mezcal glass. I was on my fourth try with the damn tie. It kept twisting wrong, no matter how many times I started over. In the mirror, I looked like a man dressed for someone else's life. From the closet came Lauren's voice, clear, polished, and sharp as a wineglass edge. "Are you ready yet, Sam? I don't want to be late. Arthur's going to be there." Arthur Warren, CEO of Marlin and Company. The same Arthur who'd taken up permanent residence in our dinner conversations. The one who respects bold ideas. The one who made my wife light up in ways I hadn't seen in years. The one who, without knowing it, was pushing me into the role of well-dressed background noise. "Almost," I muttered, smoothing the sleeves of a suit that cost half my savings. I didn't buy it to impress. I bought it so I wouldn't embarrass her. The drive downtown was all business. Lauren rehearsed her talking points out loud, barely glancing at me. "If anyone asks, say you're consulting on that eco park with your cousin." In transition sounds aimless. "And try to speak up tonight. You faded out completely at the last gala." I nodded, like I always did, still clinging to the idea that maybe tonight would be different, that maybe she'd look at me like she used to. The Ely Central Hotel towered over downtown, glass and gold and piano music echoing through the lobby. It smelled like money, the kind of place where people sip mezcal and talk about markets, not emotions. Lauren stepped inside like she owned it. Emerald dress, perfect hair, that sleek confidence that made people turn. Me? I was the accessory. "There's digital strategy. Let me do the talking, okay? Just smile. I'll bring you in." So I did what I always did. Smiled, nodded, topped off her glass, laughed when required. I heard phrases like brand intimacy and disruption modeling tossed around like party favors. None of it meant anything to me, but this was her world. I let her have it. And then Arthur arrived, tall, centered, mezcal in hand. His voice rolled through the room like a sermon. "Lauren," he said with a smile too familiar, "your pitch on inclusive narrative was stellar. That's the kind of leadership this company needs." She practically levitated. Her spine straightened. Her voice softened, like she was revealing some secret part of herself. "Thank you, Arthur. I believe in challenging the norms." They swapped stories about a recent company retreat in Oregon, the one I didn't even know had happened. "Your wife was the only one who hiked to the cliff without a guide," someone joked. "Nearly lost her up there. She's fearless." Arthur turned to me. First time he acknowledged I existed. "You into extreme adventures too, Sam?" I opened my mouth, but Lauren cut in. "Sam? He gets lightheaded on escalators." Not exactly thrill-seeking material. Laughter. Polite. Sharp. Real. Arthur chuckled. "Well, every team needs stability." But she wasn't done. "Remember that mouse in our kitchen?" she told the group. I screamed, "Sure. But Sam?" Straight into the closet with a broom. Said pest control wasn't in his skill set. More laughter. Another round of mezcal. It wasn't the story. It was the way she told it. Like it was entertainment. Like I was a funny little side character in her rise to the top. That's when it hit me. Right there, under those chandelier lights and fake smiles. She didn't respect me anymore. Not as a man. Not as a partner. Not even as a human being. And that, somehow, hurt more than if she'd cheated on me. I stepped out onto the balcony. The night air was cool, grounding. Below, the city pulsed with sirens, street vendors, life. It felt more real than anything inside that room. Behind me, her laugh rang out again, and something inside me finally cracked. The city looked softer from the balcony. Not prettier, just smaller. Like all of it could fit inside the ache in my chest. Behind me, the gala murmured on silverware, string quartet, laughter that didn't belong to me. I gripped the cold railing and tried to breathe. That's when I heard a voice beside me. "You look like someone who just realized he doesn't speak the language in his own story." I turned. He was holding 2 tumblers of something amber and serious. Clean shave, no tie, sleeves rolled to the elbow. I'd seen him in Lauren's Instagram stories before, conferences, launch parties, always standing close. "Miles Reed," he said, offering the glass before I could speak. "Creative director and designated rescue unit for lost husbands." "Samuel Carter," I replied, accepting the drink. "Professional accessory." He smiled, not out of pity, but like someone who recognized something familiar. "Thought you could use something stronger than mezcal." The whiskey burned, but it was cleaner than shame. We stood in silence for a few seconds, listening to the city hum beneath us. "Your wife," he said eventually, not with judgment but precision, "reminds me of mine. When she was still mine." That got my attention. "Years ago," he continued. "Same kind of event. She told a story about me that was supposed to be funny. I laughed with everyone, but I knew something had cracked, and it never sealed again. What did you do? The first time? Nothing. Second time, I asked her to stop. Third time, divorce. I took another sip. It went down easier this time. I don't know why I'm telling you this, he said. Maybe because you look like someone who still thinks it might change. I didn't answer. Maybe because he was right. He shifted his weight, rested his arms on the railing like we were watching a baseball game, and not my marriage collapse behind glass doors. I saw your bookshelf, by the way, he added. The one with the built-in planner. Lauren posted a picture of it last year. That was your design. I shook my head. Nope. I don't do woodworking. I barely hang picture frames straight. Funny. She said you built it yourself. She says a lot of things. He nodded slowly, like he was cataloging them. Noted. Filed. Understood. Well, it looked good. That's why I remembered it. I've been thinking about updating my office. Looking for something different. Custom. Would you ever be interested in sketching something out? I blinked. You're serious? Yeah. Why not? I hadn't thought of myself that way in years. Not since I left my job at the urban planning firm. Not since I decided her dreams were more urgent than mine. We went back inside a few minutes later. The music felt louder, the lighting harsher. Lauren spotted us by the buffet. She had that look, part smile, part warning. The kind she wore when she didn't control the conversation. There you are, she said, brushing her hand over my shoulder. Everyone was asking where you disappeared to. Just getting some air, I replied. And talking to someone interesting. Miles and I were discussing functional design, he added, sipping his drink. Pretty enlightening. Her smile faltered. Barely, but I saw it. Well, we should get back to the director's table, she said. Arthur's wife wants to meet you. I exhaled. Quietly. I think I'm going to head home. Her expression froze. What? I'm not feeling great. Sam, come on. We've been here 2 hours. This is important for me. Miles stepped back. Respectful. Want me to give you two a moment? No need, I said, setting my glass down. I already called a cab. I hadn't, but I would. Lauren dropped her voice to a colder, more familiar setting. Are you serious? You're leaving because of one joke? Do you realize how this makes me look? I looked her straight in the eye. How it makes you look? What about me? For the first time in years, something inside me lined up, like a spine snapping into place. I stood by you through every promotion, every late night, every last-minute trip. I learned the names of your colleagues, showed up to every gala. But tonight, you didn't want support. You wanted a prop. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. There weren't enough words to patch that kind of hole. I'm going home, I said, softer now. We can talk tomorrow. The cab ride was quiet. The driver hummed along to a Spanish love song. Outside, Seattle's skyline blurred behind raindrops on the window. When I got home, the jasmine by the front porch was still blooming. I loosened my tie like it was a noose and stood in the shower until the water ran cold. That night, I barely slept. Her words, those neat little cuts, looped in my head. Makes you dizzy. Not your expertise. Hid in the closet. She didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She just turned me into a character she could laugh at. At 6:03 a.m., a text lit up my phone. Staying at Monica's. Didn't want to keep arguing. We'll talk later. No, sorry. No, are you okay? Just silence with punctuation. I turned off the phone and called in sick for the first time in 5 years. The silence in the house was different that morning. Not empty cleansed. Like a song paused just before the last note. I stayed in bed longer than usual. The sunlight creeping through the blinds felt warmer than it had in months. I didn't rush to check my phone. I didn't make a to-do list. I didn't move until my stomach reminded me I was still human. The kitchen still smelled faintly like jasmine. I made coffee, opened the window, and let the air roll through. No podcast, no background noise, just the clinking of the spoon against ceramic and the quiet creak of the old wooden floor. That's when I saw it, the half-full glass of whiskey from the night before, sitting on the edge of the desk in my study. Next to it, a business card. Miles Reed, Creative Director, Marlin and Company. On the back, in neat handwriting. If you ever want to talk design over coffee, call me. Serious offer. I stared at it for a long second, then pulled out my phone and typed. Hey, it's Sam, the not exactly adventurous husband from last night. That coffee still on the table? His reply came in under 5 minutes. Of course. 3 p.m. The Coffee Lab, Bucktown. Chill music, no pressure. It was barely noon. I had time to second-guess myself. Instead, I shaved, put on a clean shirt, and grabbed a sketch pad I hadn't touched in 3 years. Not because I was planning to use it. I just wanted to remember that I'd once owned it. Miles was already at the cafe when I arrived. Same rolled sleeves, same calm. He stood when I approached, shook my hand firmly, like he wasn't surprised I showed up. Didn't think I'd come? I asked. I figured you'd want a reason not to, he said. Glad you ignored it. We ordered coffee. No small talk. No probing questions. Just a silence that felt like space, not pressure. You holding up? He asked finally. I appreciate you not opening with that, I said. Most people rush to treat you like a victim. I don't see you that way, he said simply. I see someone who has something to say but hasn't had the room. We talked for nearly an hour. About materials, shapes, the way neighborhoods breathe. He told me about a new mixed-use project they were starting in Logan Square, part affordable housing, part community hub. The plans were early stage. Raw. Exciting. That sounds like something I dreamed about designing 10 years ago, I said before I could stop myself. Why'd you stop? He asked. I stared at the foam patterns in my coffee. Because everything started revolving around her career. And I guess, somewhere along the way, I stopped thinking my ideas were worth hearing. He didn't answer immediately, just nodded like he understood every word beneath mine. Then he reached into his bag and pulled out a USB drive. Here's the initial project files. No strings. No deadlines. Just take a look. Tell me what you think. I don't need a pitch. I need a fresh set of eyes. I held the drive like it was heavier than plastic should be. I'm not licensed, I said. No official titles. Just half-finished sketches in a drawer. Sometimes that's exactly what a project needs. No formulas. Just perspective. We parted ways just after 4. As I walked home, I kept my hand in my pocket, fingers gripping that USB drive like it was a lifeline. I didn't feel triumphant, or even excited. I felt strange. Empty and full at once. Lauren wasn't home when I got back, but she'd left a note on the kitchen table like a business memo. At Monica's again. Don't wait up. No apology. No conversation. Just control, kept neat and folded. I didn't answer. I didn't even sigh. I just walked to the study, cleared off the old desk, and opened the drawer that had become a graveyard for forgotten drafts. The black notebook was still there. Pages yellowed at the edges, corners folded, margins full of notes. Drawings of walkable plazas, shared gardens, repurposed rooftops. I booted up my laptop and plugged in the USB. Blueprints bloomed across the screen. Theater spaces tucked into housing blocks. Rooftop gardens connected by sloped walkways. Every element was thoughtful, purposeful. I found myself leaning forward, heart tapping a new rhythm. I started sketching. Just to see. Just to feel. I didn't notice how much time had passed until the clock on the wall blinked 11:47 p.m. And the strangest thing, I wasn't tired. For the first time in years, I felt awake. The morning after felt different. Not because anything had changed between Lauren and me. We were still circling each other like diplomats from enemy nations, but because something had shifted in me. I woke up with one clear thought. I want back in. Not back into her world. Not her job, her rules, her spotlight. I wanted back into mine. I spent most of the morning at my desk, sketching. I'd intended just to take notes on the project files Miles gave me, maybe type up a few thoughts. But the moment I opened the plans again, I fell in. I started drawing lines, adjusting the layout of the courtyard, adding visual breaks to reduce heat spots. My brain felt alive, like someone had flipped a switch I'd forgotten existed. I barely noticed the hours pass. By the time Lauren came home, just after 2 p.m., I'd filled 6 pages with notes and diagrams. She walked in, her heels clicking like punctuation, holding her phone like it was part of her anatomy. I expected her to glance into the study, maybe ask a dry, "What are you up to?" Instead, she walked straight to the bedroom. No hello. No questions. Just a door shutting gently behind her. Fine. I didn't want to talk either. But I did notice something. Her perfume. It wasn't hers. It was something unfamiliar, sweeter, muskier. It hit like static. Not enough to accuse, but more than enough to question. A few minutes later, I walked into the kitchen for water and passed her purse, half unzipped on the counter. Her phone buzzed. Arthur. Last night was incredible. Wish we didn't have to keep pretending. I didn't read more. I didn't need to. The sentence landed like a steel beam through my chest. There it was. No metaphor. No theory. Just reality. I stepped back, part hammering like a drill in my ribs. My first instinct was stupid. Hide it. Pretend I didn't see. Protect her. Protect. What? The idea of us? I took a breath, and then I walked away. No confrontation. No fight. Not yet. Instead, I did something that surprised even me. I sat back down and opened the project files again. I needed to be somewhere else, even if it was just inside blueprints and community pathways. That night, I sent an email to Miles. Subject, notes from a not-quite architect. Body. Attached are some initial thoughts on the Logan Square layouts. Not sure if anything's usable, but working on this felt, right? Thanks again, Sam. 10 minutes later, he replied, "You're kidding, right? These are great. Especially your idea for breaking the courtyard into modular green space, exactly what we've been missing. You free for a quick Zoom tomorrow? Team wants to meet you." For a few seconds, I just stared at the screen. Then I typed, "Yes, anytime after 1. Looking forward." Later that evening, Lauren finally broke the silence. She made dinner, or tried to. Pasta with too much olive oil and not enough care. She poured 2 glasses of red wine and set the table like we were still playing house. "I thought maybe we could eat like normal people tonight," she said without looking at me. I nodded, took a seat, ate in silence. "How was your day?" she asked. "Busy. With design work." She blinked. "Still with that project?" They asked for more input. "Some of my ideas are getting traction." She sipped her wine. "That's good." But her voice was tight. The kind of tight people get when they lose control of a story they thought they were writing alone. "They want to meet with me," I added. "Tomorrow." She looked up sharply. "Who's they?" "The team at Marlin and Company. The design group Miles leads." Her expression pinched. Not angry. Cautious. Measured. "Just be careful. These things can feel bigger than they are. Don't get too caught up in it." That was rich, coming from someone who built her entire identity on ambition. "Thanks for the concern," I said, folding my napkin. "But I think I know when something feels real." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. We cleaned up in silence. No arguments. No slammed doors. But under it all, something was breaking, and this time, it wasn't me. I went back to the study, lit only by my desk lamp and the glow of a new version of myself. My notes. My lines. My future. Lauren didn't knock. And I didn't care. I didn't sleep much that night. Not from anxiety, at least not the usual kind. My mind wouldn't stop spinning around renderings, materials, angles of light, how people might use the spaces we were designing. But underneath all of that, something darker pulsed. Arthur. His name. That message. Her silence. By morning, I'd made peace with one thing. I couldn't unsee what I saw. And I wouldn't pretend anymore. The Zoom call with Miles's team was scheduled for 1:30. I spent the morning fine-tuning a few sketches, arranging notes into something coherent. It wasn't panic work. It felt good. Like preparing for a conversation where people actually wanted to hear me. The meeting lasted 45 minutes. There were 5 of them. Urban designers, 2 architects, 1 sustainability specialist. Professionals. Sharp. But what struck me most was how they listened. I wasn't Lauren's husband. I wasn't someone's +1. I was Sam. I had ideas. I had questions. They responded with curiosity and notes and real engagement. When it ended, Miles stayed on the call. "That courtyard layout you suggested? I think we're going to build the next draft around it." I didn't know what to say. I just nodded. "You okay?" he asked. I looked at him through the screen. "No, but I'm clearer than I've been in years." We said our goodbyes. I closed my laptop and sat in the quiet for a long time. Lauren came home later than usual. "No, hi. No, how was your day?" Just the sound of her heels crossing the hardwood, then her laptop bag landing on the couch. I stepped into the living room. "We need to talk," I said. She didn't turn. "Now." "Yes. Now." She sighed like I was inconveniencing her, then stood still, back to me, arms crossed. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I saw the text, "Lauren." She turned slowly, eyes narrowing, face calculating. "What text?" "From Arthur. The one you got yesterday while I was in the kitchen." "Don't insult me by pretending you don't know." Her face twitched. "Just for a second." "Enough. That wasn't what it looked like," she said, voice low. "Really?" "Because it looked like you were sleeping with your boss." Silence. Then, "It was a mistake." My jaw tightened. "How long?" She didn't answer. "How long, Lauren?" "A few months," she whispered. "It wasn't planned. It just happened." I laughed, dry and hard. The oldest cliché in the book. She stepped toward me. "Sam, listen." "No. You listen. You humiliated me in front of your team. You made me the punchline in your little rise to the top. And now I find out this." Tears sprang into her eyes, fast and convenient. "It didn't mean anything. But it did. Because it meant you didn't care what it did to me. That matters." She dropped into a chair like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. I didn't know how to stop it. I thought if I kept things together, if I kept us together, it would balance out. Balance? I repeated. "You cheat, lie, manipulate, and call it balance?" Her voice cracked. "You stopped trying. You gave up on everything." "No. I gave up on myself so you could chase everything. She looked up. I didn't ask you to do that. No, but you made sure I knew when I was in your way. She wiped at her eyes. The room felt like it had shrunk around us. So what now? She asked quietly. I thought about that. For once, I didn't feel the urge to fix things. To smooth it over. To become smaller so she could feel bigger. I'm not leaving tonight, I said. But I'm not staying to protect your comfort either. Do you still love me? She asked. I looked at her. The woman I'd built a life around, who now looked like a stranger in our home. I don't even know if I like you right now. She flinched. But I didn't take it back. I left the room, closed the door behind me, sat at my desk, and got back to work. The air between us turned cold. Not loud. Not violent. Just cold. Lauren and I moved through the house like distant colleagues who used to be friends. No fights. No affection. Just shallow courtesy and long silences. She stayed late at work more often. I spent my nights in the study, neck-deep in design files and sketches. The apartment became two parallel lives sharing square footage. And honestly, I didn't mind. Because for the first time in a decade, I had something that was mine again. The Logan Square project picked up speed fast. Every night brought new drafts, new questions from the team, new challenges. I loved it. The friction of building something real, not just for show. My suggestions were landing: modular green space, layered garden paths, community-facing access. It wasn't just theory anymore. It was happening. One morning, I opened my email and froze. Subject: project update, garden layout accepted. From Miles Reed. Your design for the central garden space was approved. We're locking it into the next round of city review. Congrats, man. You're officially shaping this place. I stared at the screen, then closed my eyes. That quiet hum in my chest? That was pride. Not for being useful. Not for being supportive. For building something. That night, Lauren set the table, which was strange. 2 place settings. Wine. Cloth napkins we hadn't used in years. Pasta on the stove. She even wore that soft blue sweater she used to break out for birthdays and client dinners. I figured we could have a peaceful dinner, she said, not quite looking at me, like old times. I hesitated, but sat, not out of nostalgia. I was just curious what the play was. We ate in silence for a few minutes. Then, halfway through the second glass of wine, she said it. I've been offered a new position. I waited. In the Western region. I'd be running the entire territory. Bigger team. Bigger budget. More visibility. Where? I asked, already knowing. Guadalajara. Corporate wants someone strong on the ground. I nodded slowly. And when were you going to tell me? I'm telling you now. No, I said. You waited. That's different. She looked down at her plate, twirled the pasta without lifting it. I wasn't sure how to bring it up. I didn't want to add pressure. Because cheating and emotional blackmail weren't enough pressure? She didn't answer. Then I pushed back from the table. Did you already accept the offer? I told them I was considering. And did you also talk to HR about removing me from project involvement? That made her look up. Fast. Who told you that? Miles. Her eyes flashed, but only for a second. It wasn't personal, she said. There could be a perceived conflict. If people thought I had influence. You do have influence. That's why you used it. But not to help me. To contain me. That's not fair. No, I said calmly. What's not fair is you thinking the only version of me that's acceptable is the one that stays quiet and out of the way. She stood up. I thought we were building something together. We weren't, I said. You were building. I was just holding the ladder. She looked like she wanted to cry again. But the tears didn't come this time. Sam, she said, more tired than angry. This is a huge opportunity. You know that, right? For you? Sure. For me? It's just one more version of the same story, me following your lead, while you erase me from the credits. Silence. Then she whispered, so what happens now? I stood. I have a meeting with the project team tomorrow. We're reviewing site flow. I'm going. You're just leaving? Like it doesn't matter? I paused at the door. No, I said. I'm leaving because it matters. Because for once, something I care about needs me to show up for it. And this time, I'm choosing me. She didn't follow. Didn't argue. She just stood there, arms crossed, stuck between a life she thought she controlled and a man she no longer recognized. I didn't slam the door behind me. I didn't need to. The sound of it closing was loud enough. The elevator doors opened onto the rooftop event space like a curtain lifting before a play I didn't audition for, but somehow still belonged in. It was dusk over downtown Chicago, and the view from the top of the Marlin and Company headquarters was dizzying. Glass walls wrapped around the entire floor, reflecting the gold-streaked skyline. People in sleek suits milled about, holding wine glasses and balancing tiny hors d'oeuvres on square napkins. I stood still for a moment, watching it all, then stepped forward. Tonight wasn't about Lauren. It wasn't even about Arthur. It was about this, the project, the work, the version of me I thought I'd buried years ago. The room buzzed with energy. Screens displayed looping renderings of the Logan Square development, walkable pathways, layered gardens, vibrant community centers. At the center of the exhibit was a black panel that read, Community Design Vision, Samuel Carter. I stared at it longer than I meant to. It felt surreal. Not just the font, or the fact that my name was spelled correctly, but that it was mine. My work. My design. My voice. Miles found me near the bar. "You're early," he said, handing me a glass of sparkling water. I smirked. Didn't want to be late to my own rebirth. He laughed. "Well, brace yourself. They're going to want to shake your hand. Probably twice. Do I have to be charming? Nope. Just real. That's what got you here." A few minutes later, the mic was handed to me. I stepped up, cleared my throat, and for the first time in years, didn't feel like I had to apologize for taking up space. "My name is Samuel Carter," I said, steady and clear. "And I believe design is an act of respect, not just for structures, but for the people who live among them. This project isn't about building something on top of a neighborhood. It's about building with one." I talked about green corridors, shared gardens, light angles, and then quiet, not silence of indifference, silence of attention. When I finished, they clapped, not politely, genuinely. That kind of applause that swells because people are seeing something they didn't expect and liking it more than they thought they would. The next hour was a blur. A representative from the city's planning office asked if I'd consider consulting on future community-based projects. A young architect asked if I'd mentor her on sustainable layout modeling. A nonprofit director slipped me her card and said, "We need your perspective." And then I saw her, Lauren, standing near the back, beside a marble column, wearing a sleek black dress and holding a glass of red wine she hadn't touched. Her expression wasn't sharp or smug this time. It was stunned. She wasn't used to seeing me like this. Not poised. Not passive. Present. Our eyes met for a second. I didn't smile. I didn't nod. I just looked, and in that moment, I saw it. She finally understood what she'd lost. And not because I was punishing her. Because I'd finally stopped needing her to see me. I turned away. The conversations resumed. More names, more hands, more plans. At one point, Miles leaned in and said, "You're doing great. People see it now. You're not someone's shadow, you're your own light." I wanted to laugh, or cry, or both. Instead, I said, "Thanks for seeing it first." I left just past midnight. The streets below still buzzed with late-night traffic, neon signs blinking over taco trucks and corner bars. Chicago felt alive. So did I. When I walked into the apartment, it was dark. Lauren wasn't home yet, or maybe she was, just not in the mood to speak. Didn't matter. I went straight to the study, turned on the desk lamp, opened my sketchbook. There, beside my notes, sat the wooden compass she gave me years ago. I picked it up, rolled it in my hand. Once, I thought it symbolized us. Tonight, it was just a reminder of how far I'd come. I placed it on the shelf, not out of sentiment, out of closure. Then I went back to the page and started sketching again. The next morning, Chicago woke up in its usual way, impatient, loud, alive. I stood on the balcony with a mug of black coffee, watching the buses grind through intersections, vendors yelling over each other on the corner, sirens slicing through the air like reminders that life was moving, whether or not I kept up. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel behind. Around 11 a.m., I got a message from Lauren. "Can we talk tonight?" I stared at it, then typed back, "If you're coming to talk, come to listen to." She arrived just after 7. No dramatic entrance. No high heels this time, just flats, jeans, and a face that looked like it had run out of rehearsals. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where, months ago, she had told me to smile and not speak too much at her company gala. The same table where I had once felt invisible. She broke the silence first. "I didn't expect to feel what I felt last night." "What did you feel?" I asked. "Surprised," she said. "Impressed. A little. Lost." I nodded. "Because I wasn't where you left me." She looked away. "I didn't come here to fight," she added. "Or to defend Arthur. That's over." I waited. No reaction. Just silence. She continued. "You're different. You walk different. Speak different. I don't know who you are anymore." "That's the thing," I said quietly. "I'm finally someone I recognize." She looked like she wanted to say something emotional, but whatever line she was rehearsing, it died on her lips. "I was scared," she finally said. I thought if you found something of your own, you'd stop needing me, and then I'd lose control. You didn't lose control, I replied. You lost respect. The minute you turned me into a joke. The moment you decided I was furniture in your narrative. She blinked fast. Her throat moved like she was trying to swallow something bitter. I didn't mean to. But you did. Over and over. And I let you. Silence settled again. Then she said the one thing I didn't expect. I turned down the relocation. I looked up. What? I declined the position in Guadalajara. I thought maybe we could find a way back. It would have wrecked me once. Now, it just felt hollow. You turned it down, I said slowly, because you realized I'm no longer chasing after you. She flinched, even as she tried to keep her face neutral. I don't want to lose you. You already did. She looked down at her hands. I don't want this to be the end, she whispered. But it was. I stood up. Not fast. Not theatrical. Just final. This isn't about punishing you. It's about choosing me. For once. She looked up at me with something I hadn't seen on her face in years. Uncertainty. Where does that leave us? She asked. I paused, then said the truest thing I could. On different paths. I walked to the study, leaving her at the table. She didn't follow. The door stayed open, but I didn't hear her footsteps. Instead, I opened my laptop, logged into the design portal. Read a new message from the city. Approved. Final plans move to execution next month. We'd like your continued input through phase 2. Below that, a second message. From Miles. We're assembling a small team for a new build in Southside Community First. You interested in leading the design direction? I leaned back. For a long time, I had thought of leaving as failure, as loss. Now I saw it for what it really was, space. The kind you need to build something new. Lauren left that night without another word, just the soft click of the door. And I didn't chase after it. I just opened a blank page in my sketchbook, wrote the date, and beneath it, some structures are meant to collapse, so you can build again with better bones. Weeks passed, quietly, cleanly, like a wound healing without scar tissue. Lauren moved out 2 Mondays ago. No big goodbye, no boxes marked with hearts or tears. Just a handful of polite logistics, some forwarded mail, and a short note left on the counter. Thank you for what we shared. I hope you find what you're building. I didn't keep it. Not out of bitterness, just clarity. There are things you don't need to carry forward. Since then, the apartment had settled into a new kind of silence. Not the suffocating one we used to share, where tension clung to every doorknob. This one was breathable, spacious. Most nights, I worked late in the study. The Logan Square build was moving into pre-construction, and I was now looped in on every layout call, zoning consult, and sustainability brief. They even started calling me design lead in meetings, like it was already true. And maybe it was. One Thursday morning, I met with Miles and the lead architect at a coffee shop on the south side. They laid out the new project, smaller scale, more personal. A neighborhood hub with open workshops, micro studios, rooftop gardens. Nothing corporate. All community. We wanted to feel like it belongs to the people already here, Miles said. Not like something dropped in from the outside. I nodded. What do you need from me? He grinned. Direction. Voice. Vision. I didn't even pause. I'm in. We shook hands across a napkin-stained table. No contracts yet. Just trust. It felt more real than any form I'd signed in years. That afternoon, I walked through Logan Square alone, sketchbook in hand, just watching how people moved, where they lingered, where they avoided, what corners pulled them in. I'd forgotten how much of design was just listening. That evening, back at home, I cleared off the bulletin board in my study, took down the old photos, the ones that tried too hard to look perfect, replaced them with renderings, site photos, hand-drawn diagrams. My story was finally up on the wall. And then, something strange happened. My phone lit up with a number I hadn't saved, but still knew. Lauren. I stared at it, watched it ring until it stopped. No voicemail, just silence. I didn't call back. The next morning, the sky over the city opened with soft light and the smell of rain. I stepped onto the balcony with a mug of coffee and watched as a young couple walked past below, arguing about something small, laughing halfway through it. I smiled without meaning to. Inside, the compass sat on the shelf. The one she gave me years ago. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I wasn't lost anymore. Later that week, I sat in a city planning meeting with 5 other voices, all smarter than me in their own way. And yet, when I spoke, they listened, asked questions, made notes. One of them turned to me and said, "That's the kind of thinking we've needed from day one." I nodded. No deflection. No modesty reflex. Just a quiet, steady thank you. That night, I met Miles at a corner bar we both liked. Dim lighting, Good jazz, no pretense. We clinked glasses over a draft print of the new site layout. You know, he said, when I first talked to you at that gala, I didn't think you'd actually call. Neither did I said. But then again, I didn't think I'd ever matter again. You do now, he replied. And not just to the work. I didn't ask what he meant. I just let it land. Back at home, I opened a blank page in my sketchbook. No deadline, no assignment, just room. In the top right corner, I wrote the date. And below it, designing isn't just about space. It's about choosing who you are inside it. The pen ink dried slowly. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was chasing a future I didn't belong to. I was the future.